Hello and welcome to the 5th devlog of my sound-based stealth game Quiet. It's been a while since my last devlog, but it's because I've been really trying to work on not only the enemies, but rework the sound system a little bit, because the way I had it before, I spent several weeks trying to get it to pass through objects correctly, and they created a lot of issues whenever I stood inside of it like this. They would just teleport. It was just pretty bad overall. But now they just go under the object and slow down whenever they hit it. So you can see that if I put a couple on top, I had a couple hit the box, they don't go near as far as the ones that didn't hit the box. Speaking of enemies, we got our first one here that I've been working on. Right now we're just calling it a grub or a larva, but whenever sound hits it, you see the eye above its head lights up and it starts looking around, and then once it doesn't hear sound for a while, it closes back and he goes back into resting. Now the plan with these guys is to not only have them do it like they do now and follow where the sound came from, not where the player is. As you can see, if sound hits him, he starts going to where the player was or where the sound was created. But also we need to implement pathfinding, if then whenever he's in a certain radius of the player, he's going to start attacking the player. So that it makes it a little bit more of a challenge where you have to make sure he doesn't get that close to you, and you have to make sure that the sound doesn't allure him to you, so you have to use things around the map to get him to quit following you. Now, something I wanted to mention is that the animation is not complete yet. As you can see, there's a couple frames on each side where it's a little bit bugged, but my artist is working on it. He's kind of new to making sprite sheets, so it's just all comes with time. You also see I put some placeholder art in for just a wall and then a floor. This is going to change. This is just for testing. As you can see, the sound depletes whenever it hits the wall, but not when it hits the box, and the floor just gives it a better look, so it actually feels like a room rather than a black void space. And like I said, the biggest thing I worked on in the past couple weeks is the sound system, so I adjusted the decibel level, how it depletes, so it looks a little bit better. A next step could be maybe I'm going to add an extra 4 waves, so that it's a little bit less spaced out whenever it grows. Because right now you can kind of trick the enemy if you just go in a diagonal line. But I also may keep it how it is, because if it's a larger enemy, you won't be able to trick it, because obviously the sound waves are going to hit it. As well as, I think I still want to add bouncing of sound whenever it hits an object, instead of just depleting or going slower, because that's more realistic than just having a single sound wave. So something I want to talk about is how ranged enemies are going to work, because I think we're going to have 2 main types of enemies, just melee and ranged, and then they're going to have different types of attacks on each of them. But range is going to work basically by whenever they hear a sound, they're pretty much just going to fire at it, because they don't know where you're at, they just hear the sound. And since they have range ability, they don't need to get close, and if they hear sound getting too close, I think I want to make them back off and get a better distance. Even though we don't have plans for you to fight back. And then the melee enemy is going to just pathfind around until it gets close enough to you to strike, which it can tell by how loud the sound gets. Now, even though it took a while for this devlog to come out, there's really not too much to talk about this week, just because, well, most of the time was put into something that I removed, which is the sound system bouncing through objects, like actually bouncing to the other side. Because obviously right now, all it does, which I think is best, is hit it and slow down, and it actually goes under the object. Which makes more sense, I think, because sound waves go through objects, they don't just teleport to the other side. On top of that, it creates more distance for it to cover, so that whenever it depletes, it's not going to go as far as it would, you know. But the biggest thing I need to do left with it, like I said, is making it bounce off of objects, and then I also need to work on pathfinding, so I think that's what I'm going to focus on for the most part this week, since those are the main mechanics left to do in the game. After that, all that's really left is just working on levels, getting cutscenes to work, getting a little bit of UI, so whenever you walk up to this door, I want it to pop up with, like, I don't know, an E or something, so that whenever you press E, you walk through the door into the next room. And that's not really UI even, that's going to pop above the object. I also need to work on getting like kind of a goal for each level, because I don't really have a specific goal in mind. Right now, it's going to be based off the story. Like the first level, this is the only thing I'm going to spoil. You know, you need to maybe steal some money from this gasoline store, and then we're going to have some story follow-in on that, and then a few cutscenes for it, and we'll go from there. But it's really just a lot of finishing the mechanic work, as well as how the enemies are going to work with attacks and pathfinding. But I think that's going to be all for this week, so please make sure to subscribe and check out our Patreon. We'll be doing a lot more in upcoming weeks. This one was just a little... This few weeks was just a little bit slow because I had vacation, as well as, you know, removing half of a mechanic that I didn't think I would want to end up removing, but that's just how game making works. So thanks for watching.